is Radio Prague International, coming to you from the Czech capital.
Hi there, this is Radio Prague International with me, Ian Willoughby. In today's programme, Charles Bridge is getting a regular cleaning using centuries-old craftsmanship and modern conservation methods. 2 state agencies are said to combine to form a single entity, CzechBusiness. And we go behind the scenes at Prague's IMAX cinema, which is currently screening epic movie The Odyssey till 3 a.m. But first, here's the news.
News.
State agencies Czech Trade and Czech Invest are due to merge into a single entity named CzechBusiness from the beginning of next month. The Minister of Industry and Trade, Karel Havlíček, said the new body would offer entrepreneurs the same services in one place, and that the move would deliver cost savings. Mr. Havlíček said other European countries such as Finland and Sweden had consolidated their support for businesses in a similar manner. In the first half of this year, the Czech Republic received 38.2 billion crowns more from the European Union than it paid into the EU budget, the country's Ministry of Finance said on Wednesday. Contributing to Czechia's net gain were revenues from EU structural funds, money from the Common Agricultural Policy, and revenues from the European Recovery Plan Next Generation EU. In the same period last year, the Czech Republic recorded a net gain of 24 billion crowns. The country has constantly been a net beneficiary since joining the bloc in 2004. The Czech Ministry of Culture will open all state castles and chateaux to the public free of charge on August 30th and September 27th this year, it said on Wednesday. This follows limited free admission to state-owned museums and galleries earlier in 2026 and continues a project of making state cultural institutions more accessible, the ministry said. The Minister of the Arts, Otto Klempeer, said the success of the spring trial of the project demonstrated a large degree of public interest. Irish musician Glenn Hansard, who won an Oscar with Czech singer Markéta Irglová for the song Falling Slowly, has died at the age of 56 after a motorbike accident in Dublin. Hansard first played in Czechia with his band The Frames in 1996 and returned numerous times over the years to play in Prague and many other places around the country, including as part of the act The Swell Season with Irglová. Spanish trainer Santi Denia is in the frame to become manager of the Czech international soccer team, the Spanish sports daily AS reported. Denia, who is 52, has led Czech Spain youth teams and trained the squad that won gold at the last Olympics. The previous Czech manager Miroslav Koubek resigned after the team performed poorly at the World Cup in North America, picking up only 1 point in the group stage. No foreigner has ever been hired as Czech national team coach. Another wave of extremely hot weather is due to hit Czechia in the coming days. Temperatures are expected to exceed 35 degrees Celsius on Thursday and could reach up to 40 degrees Celsius on Friday, the Czech Hydrometeorological Institute said. Following a cooler weekend, temperatures should again hit 35 Celsius at the start of next week. The nights will also be tropical, with temperatures not falling below 20 Celsius. And the weather forecast, it should be mainly sunny in Czechia on Thursday with an average high temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. Overcast weather is expected on the following days. Anyone visiting Charles Bridge recently may have noticed workers suspended from ropes high above the Vltava or operating from boats below. They're carrying out regular maintenance to help keep one of Prague's most iconic landmarks in good condition, as Ruth Frankova reports.
Charles Bridge is not only Prague's best-known landmark, but also one of the busiest historic bridges in Europe, with around 30,000 people crossing it every day. Keeping the nearly 700-year-old bridge in good condition requires regular maintenance, including a thorough cleaning every few years. Bohumil Pánek, whose family runs stonemasonry and restoration companies carrying out the work, explains why the cleaning is so important.
Tato údržba, která se momentálně dělá, The work currently underway is done every few years to remove algae, moss, lichens and other biological growth from the stonework. This vegetation thrives in the damp environment and gradually damages the stone. The roots of mosses and lichens penetrate the surface, causing deterioration that, if left untreated, would eventually lead to serious damage.
Since putting up scaffolding along the entire bridge would cost far too much, most of the cleaning is carried out by specialist rope access technicians. They spray the stone with an environmentally friendly treatment, leave it for 24 hours to do its job, and then wash the surface clean. Before the treatment is applied, the team removes vegetation growing in cracks in the masonry and clears the bridge's water spouts so rainwater can drain away properly. Barnek says caring for a medieval monument means combining centuries-old craftsmanship with modern conservation methods.
We still use some of the same materials that the medieval master builder Petr Parles used, such as lead, along with traditional tools. At the same time, we also use modern conservation products, and the challenge is to combine the two so the monument retains its original character.
Barnek's company is one of the oldest family-run stonemasonry businesses in the Czech lands, with a history stretching back more than 3.5 centuries.
Our company has a long tradition of working on Gothic architecture. Charles Bridge is one of the monuments we care for, but our main priority has always been St. Vitus Cathedral. The company's roots go back to 1673, and I represent the 12th generation of the family. My father worked on the reconstruction of Charles Bridge in the 1970s, when the company even had a stonemasonry workshop beneath the bridge. As a little boy, I used to run around there.
Barnek says the greatest satisfaction comes when people hardly notice the work that's been done.
When a monument has been covered in scaffolding for a year, people come back afterwards and say, "It looks exactly the same as before. What were they doing all the time?" For us, that's the greatest compliment. It means we've done the work properly. The
cleaning work on Charles Bridge is expected to continue, with breaks, until late October or mid-November, before freezing weather sets in.
And that report was by Ruth Frankova. The Prague government is merging the Czech Trade and Czech Invest agencies into a single entity to be called CzechBusiness. Officials say the move will simplify services for companies, strengthen support for exporters, investors and startups, and reduce administrative costs. Vít Pohanka has the story.
The aim is to simplify the state's business support system while reducing administrative costs, says Deputy Prime Minister and Industry and Trade Minister Karel Havlíček.
Se uzavírá kapitola odděleného fungování agentur Czech Trade a Czech Invest.
The new organization will replace two separate agencies with a single institution, offering export promotion, investment support and services for startups. Instead of turning to different offices, businesses should be able to access all of those services through one organization operating from nearly 60 foreign offices around the world.
To přinese logicky i úsporu v rámci řízení těchto.
The merger should also make the state administration more efficient by reducing duplicated activities. Karel Havlíček adds that the Czech Republic is following examples of other countries.
Business Finland, Business Sweden, podobný projekt.
And he named Finland, Sweden and France as countries that started using this model. Although CzechBusiness officially comes into existence on the 1st of August, the merger itself will continue over several months. Czech Trade Director General Rudolf Klepáček says the transition has been planned in stages so that companies notice no interruption in the services they receive.
K 1.9. chystáme sloučení back officeů.
According to Rudolf Klepáček, administrative departments and the foreign networks of Czech Trade and CzechInvest will be merged in September, when the greatest cost savings are expected. By the end of the year, the remaining agendas, including investment promotion and startup support, should also become part of CzechBusiness. The two agencies have played different but complementary roles in the Czech economy for more than 3 decades. CzechInvest was established by the Ministry of Industry and Trade in 1992 to attract foreign investment and later expanded its mission to support innovation, technology, companies and the country's startup ecosystem. Czech Trade followed in 1997 with a different focus, helping Czech companies find customers abroad, enter new markets and increase exports through a network of overseas offices. Together, they have become two of the country's main business support institutions. CzechInvest says it helped secure 25 investment projects in 2025 alone, worth the equivalent of about $1.2 billion. The agency says those investments are increasingly concentrated in technology-advanced manufacturing, research and development, and other high-value added sectors. Czech Trade, meanwhile, has built an international network of almost 60 offices, helping Czech exporters establish contacts and expand into foreign markets.
And that report was by Vít Pohanka. Although it's been almost 2 weeks since the Prague premiere of what's likely to be this year's biggest blockbuster, the city's IMAX cinema is still packed. The screening schedule for the 180-minute movie The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan has even been expanded to include midnight showings. That means the last moviegoers leave the IMAX at Prague's Flora shopping centre after 3 o'clock in the morning. Romana Grajcarova has more.
If you attend an IMAX screening of the Odyssey in Prague, chances are you will hear not only Czech but many other languages around you. Although IMAX cinemas exist in other countries, Prague is unique because it is one of the few in the world capable of projecting physical 70mm film from reels. And because many viewers want to experience the 3-hour epic exactly as the director intended, in its full uncropped format, they are willing to travel hundreds of kilometers to do so, coming from countries such as Norway, Israel and Spain.
Ta IMAXová filmová kopie je specifická tím, že tím filmovým projektorem prochází
A conventional film projector runs standard film horizontally, whether it's classic 70mm or 35mm. The film frame is always positioned perpendicular to the direction of the film's movement. IMAX is unique because the frame is rotated by 90 degrees. That means it isn't limited by its width, but by its height, allowing each frame to be dramatically larger.
Ta jeho velikost může být potom takhle ohromná.
Explains projectionist Tomáš Višinský. The size of each film frame is not the only remarkable feature. The entire print of the Odyssey is approximately 18 kilometers long. It arrived at the cinema in 3 large crates from which the projectionist had to carefully unpack it. At the same time, anyone looking for the title The Odyssey on the boxes would search in vain. The shipping crates were labeled with a code name instead, primarily for security reasons.
To hlavní zabezpečení těch krabic je takové, že se na krabici zásadně neuvádí.
The main security measure is that the title of the film is never written on the crates. Instead, they are always marked with a code name. It's a basic precaution to prevent the film from being stolen because it remains a print with considerable licensing value.
Je to exkluzivní materiál, který není jednoduché jako tak snadno vyrobit.
Thanks to modern projection technology, the lifespan of the film print is almost unlimited.
Při projekci se každé políčko přisaje na takovou malou čočku zakřivenou.
During projection, each frame is held against a small curved lens by suction, which stabilizes its movement so the image doesn't shift during projection. At the same time, it also helps maintain sharp focus. Thanks to the curvature, the image appears perfectly sharp on the screen.
Ten obrázek jevil na promítací ploše jako ostrý.
Demand for 70mm IMAX screenings of the Odyssey at Prague's Flora cinema has been enormous. Tickets sell out within minutes and screenings run from morning until late at night.
Tady je to koncipováno vlastně na 2 směny. Ty projekce jsou teďka celodenní.
We have organized the operation into 2 shifts. With 4 or 5 screenings a day, we work 2 10-hour shifts. There are always 2 of us here, the lead projectionist and another person providing support. That's mainly because someone must be physically present throughout every screening, just in case anything happens. The first shift starts at 8 in the morning and the final one finishes around 4 o'clock the next morning.
How long the 70mm film print will continue spinning through the projector depends on audience demand. Christopher Nolan's previous film, Oppenheimer, continued to be shown from its 70mm print at Prague's IMAX for several weeks after its premiere.
And that report was by Romana Grajcarova. Now in the final part of our programme today, an exhibition now on display at Prague's Leshovice Market Hall explores what it means to grow up between 2 cultures. Little Hanoi Next Generation combines large-scale portraits with personal stories to introduce the children of Vietnamese immigrants who settled in former Czechoslovakia decades ago. Ruth Frankova went along to find out more.
The exhibition follows up on the original Little Hanoi project from 2008, created by photographers Stepanka Stein and Salim Issa, which documented the first generation of Vietnamese immigrants who arrived in what was then Czechoslovakia in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Nearly 20 years later, Stein has returned to the subject, this time together with photographer Wendy Mlejnska. Instead of their parents, however, the focus is now on the second generation, young people who grew up between 2 cultures but now call Czechia home. Stein says that after documenting the lives of the first generation nearly 20 years ago, it was only natural to return and tell the story of their children.
The reason why this new project actually happened is that those people had children, and the children now are around the age 18 to, let's say, 30, something like this. And we wanted to capture their portraits, their lives, their thoughts, because we call them second generation. And that sort of means that, you know, you still have the roots, but you also have the roots of the country, what you're living in, what you were born to. And the language that you speak is mainly Czech, and you still understand your parents, but you might not speak as well Vietnamese. So, you know, they're on the border like any other second generation.
The new exhibition features 76 large-scale portraits, each accompanied by a short personal story written by Thuy Xuan Nguyen Chin. She says one of its aims was to challenge stereotypes about the Vietnamese community.
We wanted to show the big range of our generation. You know, our generation is not only people who work in večerka, in the small stores, but we also have some artists, lawyers or doctors, and there's so many professions here. If you look at 76 portraits here and read the short story about them, you can feel that there's a big diversity.
Thuy says one of the biggest differences between her parents' generation and her own is their sense of belonging.
While our parents came here to work and they didn't know if they stay here or go back to Vietnam, most of second generation grew up here since their childhood, or they were even born here, and now they feel like the Czech Republic is their home. And if they say I'm going home, they mean I'm going home to the Czech Republic.
Thuy herself is also one of the people featured in the exhibition. She came to Czechia with her parents when she was 7 years old and says her family's story reflects that of many first-generation Vietnamese immigrants.
My parents lived here in the 90s and they studied in Chemopetrol Litvinov, and then they had to come back to Vietnam because they were not allowed to have a family at that time. Based on bilateral contracts, they were not allowed to have families, so they had to come back to Vietnam. But economical situation was really bad in Vietnam, so they took a chance to come back and came back with us, with the kids. And now I've been living here for 30 years. I still have a strong connection with Vietnam because my parents teach us about Vietnamese traditions. I can speak Vietnamese. But after that long time living here, I feel like Czech Republic is my second home.
The exhibition hall is filled with large portrait banners, some hanging from the ceiling and others mounted on the walls. Each shows its subject against a pastel-colored background, partly veiled by smoke and holding an object that has a special meaning in their life. Photographer Wendy Mlejnska explains how the visual concept came about.
We were thinking about pastel colors, something really bright. But if you have 80 persons to be portrayed, you need to raise it up a little bit, because if not, you will end up with 80 passport pictures on the wall. So at the beginning we were thinking about feeling of the celebrities at the concert. You see at the beginning, you see the smoke and no one's there, and in one moment you can see a little bit of them and more and more. And that's the feeling we wanted to capture on the pictures. And then Štěpánka said it's necessary to add something more in the pictures, the story behind it. And that's why they're holding the objects they are connected to.
For Štěpánka, staying working on the exhibition also felt very different from photographing the first generation almost 30 years ago. While she and Salim Issa spent a year documenting life in Prague's supper market for the original project, they never really managed to build close relationships with many of the people they photographed, she says.
Compared to this new project, I feel personally that I'm close to the people who we were portraying. I know their stories. We understand each other way more. And maybe that, because we have things in common in Czech Republic, we all know what means this and what means that. And maybe this is the connection that now we have in common, the traditions and small things, like jokes, sense of humor. So that's, for me, that's the biggest difference.
Seeing so many of the people featured in the exhibition attend the opening made the project especially rewarding.
So many of those people who are on the portraits came to the opening, and they came to all of us and said, thanks for doing this. And it was really good feeling.
For Stein, the exhibition also reflects a broader change in Czech society's view of the Vietnamese community.
Whenever I went past 25 years to Paris, I went to London, I went to Berlin, I find so many multicultural experience, so many, other nationalities, so many other ethnicities. I kind of feel like it's really good for Czech Republic to have this community here because, 100 years, maybe 150 years, we were a really diverse country, incredible. We had Jewish community, German community, Hungarian community, and that all was devastated during the communism. And past 15, 20 years, there's a really big respect from Czech society, to see the Vietnamese community in really different light.
And if there is one thing Tui Xuan Nguyen Chin hopes visitors will take away from the exhibition, it is that the Vietnamese community is not something separate from Czech society, but an integral part of it.
I would like people who leave this exhibition with a feeling that actually Vietnamese community is a part of Czech society, because I still sometimes meet a person who tells me, go back where you come from, but a lot of people you see here were born in the Czech Republic, so where should they go if they were born here? I know that that person meant that I come back where my parents came from, I understand that, but I would love people to accept us as a part of Czech society, because I feel like part of Czech society already.
And that's all we have time for today on Radio Prague International. From me, Ian Willoughby, thank you so much indeed for listening, and do join us again soon.